There we are. I think we're going. Yep. Hey, YouTubers.
Has been started.
Recording has been started. We're not dropping any frames. That's all good. So, we're back. I felt bad last time because we did almost a completely Avengers show. So we've decided to step away from Marvel for a little bit and go back to our meat and potatoes. That would be Star Wars. So our Star Wars and More show is going back to Star Wars, at least for this episode. I'm sure we'll find a Marvel and More episode again later.
Oh, yeah.
We can't help it. So, but hey, that's why we're the GalaxyCast and not the Star Wars show. So, all right, let me get our audio going.
Testing 1, 2. Testing 1, 2.
There we go. 3. Breaking. Okay, here we go. Hey folks, welcome to this episode of the GalaxyCast. This is episode 213, I believe. I don't know, I'll take that part out later. I have with me today Eric the Artist.
I don't feel so good, Mr. Stark.
I have with me Gary the Stud.
That'll be me.
I'm your host, Bob Chrisman. That means we have 3 people in the studio tonight. Yes, some people are taking a hiatus. So my children are, gathering themselves after college, and my high schooler is just busy. So, lots to discuss tonight about Star Wars. That's right, we're going to step away from Marvel for a little bit, because I think we marveled you out in the last podcast.
Yeah.
And can we marvel people out? I don't know if you can, but, we definitely geeked out on Marvel a lot last time, so we thought, you know what, let's go back to our roots. Time to dig our roots and get back into some Star Wars here. So we're going to talk about several things tonight. We're going to talk about Jon Favreau's live-action TV show. We're getting more information about that. Eric pointed out some things about that we're going to discuss tonight, about some CGI stuff that could potentially be right around the corner. We're going to talk about the possibility of an Obi-Wan Kenobi film.
Rumor mill.
What we know and what we don't know and what's rumor. And then, of course, the Han Solo movie premiere has happened, and so we want to talk a little bit about what we saw with the Han Solo premiere. We didn't actually see the movie, obviously, because we're here in New York and not in California.
No.
Teardrop. But at the same time, we do know of some things that were going on, so we thought we'd talk about that.
And we have speculations.
Yes, we do. Okay, so let's first off talk about the amazing announcement this week via Twitter that Jon Favreau, who is the director of the Star Wars live-action TV show. Now, it does not have a title yet, right?
As far as I know,
I cannot find a title anywhere at this point. But they have confirmed, Jon Favreau has confirmed, that his live-action series will take 7 years after the Battle of Endor and will be between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens.
Yes.
Do we know how many years after Return of the Jedi that Force Awakens occurs?
I figured it was almost real time because of the aging of Mark Hamill. So I was going to guess about 30 years.
Okay, so there's that much time in between. I thought it was maybe only 10, 15.
Well, you got to figure Kylo's what? He's supposed to be 19 or 20?
I think he's supposed to be in his young 20s at least, I would think.
So if they had a kid, and that's 20 years right there, and they probably didn't have him right away, I mean, I think getting close to 30 years would be a pretty safe bet.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
I don't remember if in the crawl at the beginning of Force Awakens it said...
It doesn't say how many years. I'm pretty sure it doesn't say how many years between Return of the Jedi and Force Awakens.
One of the books might say.
Probably does, and I just haven't read it yet. So, it'll be interesting. I don't know if, how you guys feel about the idea of filling in that storyline somewhere between Return of the Jedi and The Force Awakens. Maybe do you think it'll make it the movie more palatable to you, The Force Awakens, if they could fill that in correctly? What do you think, Gary?
They need a lot of filling in to do for me.
Okay. But if there's some good backstory there, I mean, this is where I have some hope because it's Jon Favreau, and so I look at it this way. People bitched about Iron Man, right? And the lack of any sort of integration into anything. It just kind of happened, right? And then somebody revealed that Favreau was overseeing the next 5 films or something like that crazy. It was a crazy amount of Marvel films, and he had revealed he was going to make sure they all kind of interconnected and it would all make sense. Do you think that makes you feel better knowing that it's Favreau who started this whole Avengers thing that we're raving about last week?
Favreau
could he do it again with Star Wars?
Favreau is the reason we have a Marvel interconnected cinematic universe.
Absolutely. He
made Iron Man happen. He put Robert Downey Jr. in that role, and then he was involved in a number of the movies as kind of like the Kevin Feige. Before Kevin Feige came along, he was kind of that role. So Favreau has a very good track record in terms of the world building when you compare it to that. Now, granted, he's stepping into a world that's already built, but he's being told, here's a gap, fill it. Right. So I am very excited because I think Favreau is one of those people who he's underrated, first of all. He's not a name that pops up when you talk about famous directors or famous people in Hollywood. People seem to forget about him almost. You know?
Why do you think that is?
He's not a Peter Jackson. I think it's because he just is pretty low-key. He keeps himself laid back. He does the work, but the work he does is extremely high quality.
Oh, yeah.
So, to me, I think he's one of the few names they could have put behind the TV series that I would have been excited about.
Mm-hmm.
He's, to me, he seems like he's down to earth. He knows what he's doing as far as the keeping everything, the continuity correct and all that.
Mm-hmm. I think he's fanboy enough. Do you know what I mean? Like, not too fanboy where it's like he's over the top, but fanboy enough to like be able to pull it off. You know,
and
like
not
he did
fanboy too little, where he says, "I can drop everything that's in this. I can do my own thing. It'll be awesome."
Which I think is what your guys' complaint about Rian Johnson is all about, because he's just not fanboy enough, and he definitely had his own style when it came to that. So, part of me says that this might have been the most brilliant thing Disney could have done, is like to take the guy who basically put Marvel where it is right now and say, okay, well, we've got this other product over here that's not, it's not bad and it's not failing, but it certainly isn't where we want it to be. John, do you think you could come in and do a TV show that'll help fix some of that? I totally could see where Disney might have made that decision.
And yes, I know the books have covered it. There was a couple books that came out that apparently tell, what was it? Not Uprising. What the heck was it called?
Dawn or something, right? Dawn of the Rebellion, or no?
It just came. It wasn't that long ago. I mean, it came out not too long ago.
Bloodlines, maybe.
There was like a couple that were supposed to tell the story of how the First Order came to be and all that. So it's in books. Yes, I know that's supposed to be canon and all that, and it's in books. But I've always said this on this podcast: when they take their media and they take important information. And wow, I am washed out on our video on YouTube.
Sorry.
Oh, there it goes.
There you go.
Try and get it to darken. When they take a very cool, big product like a Star Wars or something, and they take media information that we want to hear, details about the story that we really are interested in, and say that's in an ancillary thing. You got to go find a book and read about it. It's like it's not enough. I want movies and I want things about it. So, to me. Finally telling these stories and telling them in this format is what I've been kind of waiting for. I wish there were movies, but I would totally take a TV series, because let's face it, the level of TV quality has bumped up now to where it's movie quality. And we're going to talk about that in a minute with this.
Well, yeah, and if you look at, I'm looking at lower end TV shows. The quality on lower end TV shows have come up quite a bit. I do think they're now turning into mini 1 hour movies. Is what they're really turning into, because the production quality on them is phenomenal.
I mean, you're not going to get, like a Star Trek level CG quality, or sets that in the 90s they were cool, but they're very dated. You're going to get movie quality stuff, I think, in this TV show. I really do. Right,
and I'm telling you guys right now, like, I know you guys haven't kept up with Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but I'm impressed still, even now. On Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., ABC's admitted it's waning as far as the number of viewerships and stuff like that, but even in its lower end, because they moved it to Friday night, which is the death kill night, as they call it on ABC, because it's the night that normally people, the productions don't do well, right? But they've kept the quality up, and they've kept the costs down, and part of that has to do with the way they're doing their CGI through the show. Yeah. And the CGI is pretty good. I've been impressed with what they're doing on the CGI of the show. So let's talk about that for a minute, because Favreau did a movie, and Eric, I'm glad you pointed this out, because I got to be honest, I never watched the movie. Now I want to go down a little bit.
I would highly suggest it. It's a great family movie too.
Right? Yeah. I mean, and I'll tell you why I didn't watch the movie initially, and that's because it was just another one. You know what I mean? It's Favreau directed The Jungle Book. This was from last year, if I remember correctly.
I think it was last summer. Yeah.
Yeah, like 2018, summer of 2017. Sorry. So he directed The Jungle Book, and I didn't realize this until Eric brought it up to us, that almost everything in the movie is completely CG created. So the animals are all CG created. We were just watching videos on YouTube about that. The sets in the background are pretty much minimal at best. Like, you might have a log and a couple things of mud or whatever, and everything else is CG created.
And that's the part you didn't get to see. We watched some of these videos, and they focused more on the animal animations. Right. When you see the epic backgrounds that are in this movie, the entire sense of place, you never once think they're dropping this kid in to a fake environment.
Right.
I mean, we're talking Avatar levels of complete believability, just just knock it out of the park, fantastic. And the thing that amazed me was it was on such a lighthearted kind of fun movie.
Right.
And they talked about this in the videos we watched about the animal animations. Something else that was impressive was they didn't try to anthropomorphize.
Right.
That's the way it's pronounced. Sorry, it took me a second. Anthropomorphize, blah, blah. They didn't try to make the animals human. They let them be animals. Their facial features don't they get about as expressive, a wolf gets about as expressive as a wolf gets, a bear as much as a bear. They really structured them realistically, and it worked so much for this movie because I thought they'd put cougars there and then faked their faces.
Right.
When I watched the movie, I thought there were some real trained animals that they were using, and they had kind of digitally gone over and added. I didn't realize the entire thing was not there, and a bunch of people in blue screen suits are like there's a scene where he gets carried by monkeys.
Yeah.
And granted, that'd be hard to do, but it's like when you see the shots of him, it's literally just the kid on set. That's it. And you see the shot in the movie with the monkeys and the temple they're in and the backgrounds and everything, blows me away. It was amazing. So Favreau has announced that the same technology used in that movie and the same processes are going to be used for this Star Wars TV show. That makes me crazy excited because it really hasn't been given enough credit that this movie had some of the best special effects I've seen in years.
You know, I'd like to go one step further and just kind of point out, too, we wouldn't be there with the technology right now, honestly, without George Lucas having moved this entire industry forward. So what's to say we don't use the Star Wars TV show now to move the TV industry forward? I'm amazed we haven't done that yet. You know, I mean, not that TV shows are bad right now, but imagine if now Star Wars type technology steps into the TV realm, it's going to push everybody that much further forward, that much quicker.
Yeah.
You know, I could totally see composites being done literally on the set, like you'd be filming.
Have you seen those demos?
They're starting to be able to. Yeah, they're starting to be able to see live rendering. But I mean, can you imagine if you see a final product right there? You know what I mean? Like if they've already got most of the background and stuff figured out.
Well, have you seen the virtual directing they do, where the director puts on a virtual headset and steps out into the virtual set, so he can kind of direct people or decide camera angles like he's walking around.
There was a video on YouTube, and I should pull it up for you guys. Not only can he do that, he can manipulate the set. So he can move buildings side to side. He can move backgrounds, trees, all this kind of stuff. And I was just like, that is phenomenal. Like
directors are going to be
literally,
godlike.
I mean, soon they'll be able to be like, oh, I want a building there, stretch it out. You know what I mean? Like it's going to be almost like I've been saying. It's like what was the movie with Tom Cruise where he could
Minority Report,
but like for film sets. You know what I mean? Like that would be a phenomenal idea to have a Minority Report type film set, but it looks like we're moving in that direction. As weird as this world is, I mean that's going to be phenomenal to think about that you could do that at any given time. But I mean, I agree with you. The technology is kind of cool. I mean, Gary, is that something like I know you're not a huge like tech geek, but do you think that's a good idea, bringing all this tech into a Star Wars film like their show like this to kind of up it, you know, bring the quality up?
Well, it'd be just like when Phantom Menace came out with all the CGI that they had in it and everything. Right. It's as long as it looks real, it'll be okay. But if it doesn't,
and I think that's the only drawback Phantom Menace had for everybody who ripped on the movie. I actually understand why they ripped on it partially, because it felt
ethereal. It didn't all feel like
it's dated. Let's face it. At the time, it was amazing tech, but now as we look back at it, it's not spectacular tech.
Right.
I mean, it's held up kind of over time, but it is obvious that it's CG now. Just like Lord of the Rings. I hate to say it, as much as I love Lord of the Rings, when you look back on it now, a lot of the bigger battles you can tell were definitely CGI'd through. You know, it's too bad you can see the cut shots, the composites, and all the weird things they had to do to make it work.
And what gets me is A New Hope. You watch that movie now, it still looks real.
But that's because almost little to no CG was used in that.
Exactly.
And that's where
models.
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. That's where modeling does have an advantage over all this tech, right? Because like 20 years from now, I'll go even further. 150 years from now, Clone Wars is going to look old. I mean, like, it's going to look very old as far as its tech. But as weird as it sounds, I think 200 years from now, A New Hope may still hold its place as far as like where it is. I mean, for some reason, the models, the puppetry, all that kind of stuff holds up over time.
Yeah.
And so that's where I worry about Hollywood getting a little too far into the tech part of it.
And I have that fear too. But I'll tell you right now, for those out there listening, and for you guys, see Jungle Book.
Yeah.
If you don't walk out of that, and you can't tell me that honestly, for large parts of it, you completely forgot you were watching digital and thought you were watching real,
right?
I'll be surprised if you can't tell me that. It really does immerse you in.
And one thing I give them credit for in that movie that I've never liked that Hollywood has done is, like, they used to, like, they still do it quite often when they do CGI animals, they'll take the face of the person talking and put that face onto the animal. And I've never liked that because that's a human face going on to an animal, and it's never going to look right. I don't care how much you know, anthropomorphize or whatever the heck it is, the face. It's still going to look like, you know, someone else's head on an animal, and it just doesn't look right. I'm glad that in that movie they didn't do that. They just let the animal be the animal.
Yeah, and the thing is, the voices end up working really well for the most part.
Right.
Like, Bill Murray plays Baloo the bear.
Okay.
And he's great.
Right.
And you almost see Bill Murray in it, but only because of the voice. It's not because they changed the bear. It looks like a bear.
But that's your imagination taking over.
Your imagination makes the connection.
Right.
The only voices I didn't like were... I didn't like Scarlett Johansson necessarily. Mm-hmm. She played... is it Bagheera? No, Bagheera's the leopard. It's the snake.
Oh, yeah.
I can't think of its name. And so she played the snake, and I know why, because she's got this kind of rasp voice that they used, and it was okay. And I think there was one or two others that pulled me out a little bit. For the most part, it's great. It works fantastic. And it's because they didn't do what you said. They didn't fake people onto the animals. They made real animals.
So the real question is it a good idea to have a live-action Star Wars show? I guess that's the real question at this point.
I think they're thinking of it much like CBS All Access thought of their new Star Trek show. It's going to be the show that sells their new streaming service, and everyone's going to have to get the streaming service because they want that show.
Did that work for Star Trek, though? There really isn't any data out there to say it worked, is there?
Not that I know of. And I mean, I know the season's over, right? The first Star Trek season?
The first season's over.
It's quiet. I remember there being a lot of news about it when it started, and then I remember people telling me it greatly increased in quality. They said it got to be a really good show.
I watched the whole thing, and I got to tell you, by the end of it, I was just like, wow. Phenomenal.
It doesn't seem to be
We're not talking about it anymore.
No, it doesn't seem like people are talking about it after the fact. Like, it seems like there should be more.
Yeah, and I would expect it by now that CBS would have been announcing more information about another season or something. And I
still think it all comes down to the fact that we have too much media.
You might be right.
You go back
oversaturation.
Oversaturation. You go back to when The Next Generation was on.
Yeah.
And Picard got captured by the Borg, and that was the cliffhanger. People talked about that all summer.
Yeah.
Because you didn't have tons of media constantly sucking up your time and making you forget the last.
Well, you didn't have Marvel films and Star Wars films, and like the market wasn't like saturated with just all this stuff.
And that's why it's very hard to get people's attention.
What do you think, Gary? I mean, is a live-action show for Star Wars a good idea? I mean, this is a new thing. I mean, we've done a lot of cartoons, but live-action is going to be a new step. I mean, we've talked about it for how many years? I mean, that's the really weird thing. I mean, this idea of a live-action Star Wars show has been discussed for, well, since before Disney even bought Star Wars. But do you think this is a good idea?
I think it's a good idea, but I don't know what to think about it right now because I haven't seen nothing of it or heard about any characters or nothing.
Right.
So, okay, 7 years after the Battle of Endor, okay, what are they going to go with in that?
I get what you're saying.
No, they're not going to bring Luke Skywalker in it. They're not going to bring Princess Leia in it or anything.
Yeah, I don't think you're going to see any of the major characters at all, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be outside of that. I think
which stinks because it's the perfect time, but I don't know if they can realistically DH them.
Right, exactly. I think that's one hassle, and I think the other hassle is, do you really want to be trying to deal with, you know what I mean, with Luke and Han and all? I just think they're better off staying away from it. I don't know. I guess it just depends on what they focus on, right? I mean, like, what do they go after? It'll be interesting to see how this plays out.
But it's interesting that news came out.
And if it's just going to be on Disney's digital service, and I don't think you're going to have a good portion of people watching it, but I don't think you're going to get I'm not going to be watching it on
I'll be watching it over here.
Yeah.
I was going to say, you'll be at my house watching it. It's all okay.
But the thing is, they're not getting mine and Eric's money.
No, they'll get mine. I'm a sucker like that. Okay, so let's talk about our next rumor, and this rumor is thanks to the Han Solo premiere, pretty much at this point,
because of photos of a certain bearded gentleman walking down the red carpet.
Okay, so let's just come out right now and say it if you weren't paying attention during
It's Gandalf.
It's from a certain point of view.
Oh boy. So
and you never know. There could be some shadow points involved in it.
Oh boy. Oh, here we go. So Ewan McGregor was at the premiere of the Han Solo story film. Now I know a lot of people were like, oh, that's it. There's gonna be an Obi-Wan Kenobi movie, and I was kind of like, come on, people. Like, part of me wanted to say, these actors go to all of the premieres.
Was
any of them that they can go to.
Haydenson there? Was Natalie Portman there?
Okay, so I got answers.
Was Samuel Jackson there?
Actually, he was there.
Was he?
Yeah,
he goes to everything.
I was going to say, he said everything.
But hey, my theory can still be there, though.
What's that?
That
Mace is still alive.
Mace is not dead.
This is what happens. Obi-Wan finds Mace Windu.
Healing him in the desert.
Right, yeah.
It's a buddy movie. It's a buddy Jedi movie.
Exactly. It's a Bob Hope and Bing Crosby.
I was gonna
two
say
of them crossing the desert.
I was going to say it's the Pulp Fiction of Tatooine. But, so because Ewan McGregor was there, immediately everybody jumped on this idea that there's going to be an Obi-Wan Kenobi film, just because he was on the red carpet.
It goes farther than that, though.
But there is something more, and we'll talk about that in a second. But my big thing is this.
I don't think he did any interviews. I think he just walked.
Right, he just walked. Okay.
I think. I mean, that's what
I'm pretty sure from what I've read, again, I wasn't there, but from what I've read, he didn't say too much to the cameras. Now, there were other people there. Daniel Logan was there. A couple, like I said, there's other people, okay?
Yeah.
That were there that I don't see jumping into a film anytime soon. Uh-oh, Eric's got an idea. I can see it in his head. Go ahead.
What if he's the surprise?
I get what you're saying.
Now, he'd be too young, because we know what Obi-Wan looks like at that age.
Right.
But what if they made him up
to look older?
Just for a guest role.
Maybe.
As the near Alec Guinness aged Obi-Wan.
Hermit, yeah. Yeah. I mean, maybe that's how they end a Han Solo story, is him meeting up with Obi-Wan to take the...
Well, no, here's the thing. They can't meet because he didn't recognize him.
Right.
Unless it changes the whole story and they were working together.
Okay. Hey, now that would be funny, actually.
How did he find Chewie in the thing? They've met before. Chewie comes up to him saying, I need your services.
Yeah. I mean, wow, that would be kind of a weird twist, but an interesting one that would be kind of cool. But, okay, so, and we'll get to that rumor in a minute. There's a rumor that's a huge twist, but we're going to talk about the Solo story in a minute. But I wanted to at least talk about the Ewan McGregor thing, because some information is kind of leaked onto the internet, and this is all rumor. I want to say that right now. Someone
needs to wipe that internet up.
Right? Yeah, what the heck? It's leaking everything. This is from fanthatracks.com, and they're claiming that they believe that the Kenobi film is now in full pre-production at Pinewood Studios in England, with ancillary work being carried out at Industrial Light and Magic in London. They've heard of concept artists, prop modelers, and storyboard artists are working as a team across 2 locations of the film, with the group growing in numbers every month. Contracts have also been extended to a number of crew who have worked on various Star Wars films produced at Pinewood under the Disney era to join the production when their work on Episode 9 ends.
Have they even started production on Episode 9?
Scripts are done, as far as I know. So, scripts are done. I know they're in the editing phase at this point, so I know there's a lot of work to do there. Yeah. But, I mean, look at how fast they're cranking these Star Wars films out.
Well, here's the thing. It's not next Christmas, but the following. So they've got another year to do production.
Yeah. But think back to our days.
I know. It would be
when it was 4 years between, we're like,
they can produce them a lot faster. I mean, especially if they're doing the special effects we talked about previously with almost real-time rendering, they can produce these a lot faster.
Right. So they're saying pre-production for Episode 9 shoots from this summer through the end of the year. So this summer they're supposed to start shooting. I didn't know it was that soon.
Wait, where does it say that?
Pre-production will continue at Pinewood, whilst Episode 9 shoots from this summer through the end of the year.
Episode 9 starts this. I did think I heard that they were starting in August or something on Episode 9.
At which point the production of the Obi-Wan movie has been scheduled to move into stages in mid-January of 2019, with the main shoot to begin in April. So, I mean, yeah, I guess they would have to be moving pretty fast. Has Disney
has not officially announced.
They have not officially confirmed, right? An Obi-Wan movie. I'm not crazy about that, correct?
I know that recently there was a post which showed they had shown all the titles.
Right.
of their upcoming movies.
And it did say something like...
Do a search.
Okay.
Real quick.
Yeah.
We can edit this out. Video, we'll have to... YouTubers deal with it. We're going to look something up quick. But it was Disney movie slate.
Oops. Movie slate.
Okay. I think it was one of these. Hit.
Maybe it's this one?
Yeah, because Wrinkle in Time, Avengers, Mary Poppins, Star Wars, Episode 9, Unnamed, Mulan, Frozen 2, Captain Marvel, Star Wars Last Jedi's already on there, Black Panther, Star Wars Story, Untitled Han Solo film. So that's old, because that's before it was called Solo. So let's see. Go to the top and search by date. Change under, no, not there.
2018?
No, go to settings. Just click off that, go over to settings by tools, right there, and just change the, tools, next to it. And change it from time to past week or something. Let's see if it comes up. Try that one.
Okay.
Star Wars. Can that get any bigger? No, that's old. That's got Rogue One on it.
I was going to say, it's got Rogue One. That's got to be really old.
That's 2015. How the heck is that showing up so in a recent search? That's all the Marvel. Oh, wait, go down that one 6 days ago. One more row down that one.
This one here, right?
Finding Dory, that's old too, Rogue One. Yeah. Anyway, we'll have to do some search offline, but I know that they've come out with Disney had shown a listing of all their movies coming out soon, and I thought there wasn't mentions of new Star Wars movies on there because people were noting it. They're like, where's all the one-shots?
Right, the standalones. I know when Disney did it, they put Episode 9 out there. They confirmed that, but I know when it came to the Star Wars one-shots, they confirmed nothing as far as that. Now, this is the one.
Yeah, that one I remember was. I think that was faked. Someone said.
Right, there was put online, but everybody said that probably isn't it. But you're right, they haven't updated in a while. So, you might be right on this D23 thing.
I think it's going to be their big. They'll release everything.
Yeah, I was going to say that might be where they finally say, "Hey, we've been working on this Han Solo film, even though it's been kind of leaked at this point."
Yeah.
Supposedly, the release date of the Kenobi film is December of 2020. Now, if this tracks, which actually it would make sense, they've been releasing one a year.
Yep.
It would make sense for Kenobi to be the next potential standalone.
Yeah, because this year we get Last Jedi was officially 2017.
Correct.
2018, even though it's only a few, 5 months in, we're getting Solo. Then 2019
is Episode 9
at Christmas, and then the Christmas after that would be Kenobi.
Right, the whole Han Solo film, which it would be interesting. I don't know. It would be interesting to see if they do this, if this is a thing. I think it's interesting if they do this, because to me, you're almost giving your one-shots a better shot at films than you are your actual films at this point. Because I think Obi-Wan Kenobi is a very famous character that everybody wants to see a movie about.
This is one of the few things you can say about the prequels. No one faults Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
No,
I don't know a single person who's ever said, he was a bad Obi-Wan. Yeah. No, everyone loves him and thought he was great.
They praise him for doing what he did do, because I think, honestly, for a lot of prequel haters, he was the only savior of the films.
You put him in a Solo movie, and not Han Solo, but in his own movie.
It's not the problem with Solo.
You have got people in the seats in 2020. Holy crap!
As an aside, before we go to I'll save this for the next subject. We'll edit that part out. So I agree with you. Obi-Wan Kenobi could hold up his own film for sure, maybe even a couple.
Yes.
I wouldn't be surprised if this leads to another one or two after it. You know what I mean? Like, there could be all sorts of adventures on Tatooine that he gets into, and that's how he earns
Who's to say he stayed on Tatooine?
Right, but that's the other thing too. He could go wherever and come back to Tatooine, and he could even act like an old hermit when Luke shows up and he's been doing all these adventures. Wouldn't that be awesome? Like, where he's traveled all over the place,
doing something crazy, and then all of a sudden he throws on the robe and he's like, oh.
Almost like Yoda, like, oh, I'm tired now.
Him and Sam Jackson road trips. It'd be awesome.
One-armed Sam Jackson. One-armed Jack.
Maybe Sam Jackson's the sand person that goes after Luke. That actually would be hysterical.
He's like, what?
Right. So anyway, I just throwing that out there. But
Mace Windu was dressed up as Walrus Man in the bar. He didn't, and he knew. He's like, just put that arm out. It's fake. I'll take it off. I'll look really tough. And Mace did that. And then afterwards, you see Mace pull off the thing. He's like, I'm not doing any of this for you anymore, man. Come on. He's like, no, the kid thinks I'm really good now. It worked great.
And then Robot Chicken works in great too, because Sam Jackson's like, look, I can't even draw my architectural drawings anymore. No, I'm actually looking forward to an Obi-Wan Kenobi film, and I'm not a huge Obi-Wan Kenobi fan, but I mean, I'd be willing. My goodness, if I'm willing to give Han Solo a film, I'm willing to give Obi-Wan Kenobi a film at this point.
Yeah.
Well, I wasn't a big Obi-Wan fan until the prequels.
Yeah.
I like McGregor a lot.
I like McGregor a lot. Exactly.
I like McGregor a lot, but I gotta say, I didn't mind him in A New Hope. Like you didn't like Obi-Wan in A New Hope.
It's not. There wasn't enough of him for me to really like.
Well, I gotta admit, you get to know this old man, and all of a sudden he's dead, and it's like, what do you do with that? Yeah. So it's like I understand what you're saying there, and so you kind of get to this character, you want to love him, and then by the time you get to that point that you love this character, all of a sudden he's nothing. He's dead, and it's gone, and it's over.
But he came back a few times.
He did.
You saw him as a ghost.
Actually, I was kind of happy with the fact that they brought him back as a ghost. So, all right.
But the whole thing is he's just going to be in episode 9 as a ghost. That's about it. For about 15 seconds. That's
it. Okay, so
if you go back to the pictures then, we were talking about the premiere.
Well, we're going to get there next.
Oh, yeah, sorry.
So our next topic, let's talk about the big thing that's come out this past week, and that is the premiere of the Han Solo movie.
The Millennium Falcon parked in the middle of a street.
Right? I mean, like, I'm just so phenomenally surprised at this. They literally built a Millennium Falcon in the middle of, what street is this? I don't even know. This is like,
it's right down. I think it's in front. I think it's in front of the Chinese.
Is that front of the Grauman's Chinese Theater?
I think.
I mean, it's at least by the Disney Ghirardelli chocolate workshop
and
area.
TMZ.
Right, and TMZ, which is so important, right? We were looking at some of the cast photos, and we were just kind of surprised at some of the people that showed up. I mean, other than Jon Favreau, who, by the way, looks like he was heavily involved in this project, which is interesting. George Lucas was there. Of course, Ron Howard and his brother were there. His brother has not changed his look at all. Have you noticed that?
Well,
in how many years
now he
still looks the same?
Now he looks like an
older version of himself.
Bilbo Baggins.
Yeah, this is true.
Well, I was thinking of President Adams there.
Yeah, actually, he does. You should do a President Adams film. He looks the part, totally. But then I'm sitting here and I'm like, how can you miss Chewie in his whole cast? The guy towers over the entire cast.
7'2".
Right?
Oh, that was Chewie. I thought Chewie was in the red.
I think 7'2". I know.
He's talking about Donald Glover. For those people not looking at the picture, who's pretty scruffy looking right now.
But which I thought was awesome. Dressed all in red, and so did.
Yes, we saw a picture with Lando Calrissian himself, which is Billy D.
Billy D. Williams, also dressed in a red coat.
Right.
I thought that was neat.
And like you pointed out in the back of the picture, we've got Han Solo looking surprised, and he's between the two, like, ooh. But I'm glad that Billy D. showed up to support Donald Glover. I've heard that the two of them have gotten along very well. I guess he and Donald Glover actually sat down and had a lot of conversations. Yeah, and I guess Donald literally sat down with Billy D and said, I want to do this justice. How did you perceive Lando, and in what way were you thinking of the character? And so he really seriously tried to do it credit. Now, Gary and I were at Greater Philadelphia Comic Con recently, and I gotta give props to the guy who built and put together BB-8 and all that. And he said to us, because I told him that we were worried about the Han Solo film, that we had some concerns, that a lot of people had. And he says, listen, you got to give the film at least some. Give it some props, give it some credit. He says it might surprise you. And he did point out that part of the film itself is going to be exploring how did Han Solo become Han Solo. So he kind of, I don't want to say he put away all of my fears, but he kind of confirmed some things that I was wondering, which is maybe the idea of this film is he's not going to be the cocky SOB that we knew him as, as Harrison Ford's version, but that he's going to grow into that by the end of the film. And I got the impression from him that maybe that's the story here, that we're going to see, that by the end of the film, that's the Han Solo you're gonna get. And that he admitted Alden Ehrenreich at the beginning does not feel like that. But by the end, you go, that's Han Solo. That's the one I know.
I hope to see it.
So I'm hoping that he's right about that's the way it's going to be. So we wanted to talk about a few things about what we heard about the film. So first off, we have heard that there is a huge reveal somewhere in the film.
There's a surprise.
There's a surprise somewhere, some huge surprise, and so we've been speculating about what that surprise could be, based on some things we've seen and heard, and maybe you're just speculating altogether. So, speculation one, my speculation, Daniel Logan was at the premiere. We saw a picture of him walking the carpet. So I'm wondering if somewhere in the movie, Boba Fett shows up. And like I told you guys, it doesn't have to be anything big. He can just be there, walk through the picture. Eric, you suggested maybe what if he walks in and takes his helmet off and we see his face.
Or has his helmet off and you don't realize what you're looking at first and then puts the helmet on.
That could be too.
You're like,
that's Boba. Yeah, it could be that kind of moment. Eric, you had said something that you thought might happen.
Well, we had Ewan McGregor walking the carpet.
Right.
Is it possible that, granted, he's not the right age, because at this point, they don't really say exactly when this movie takes place.
So they don't.
And Han Solo he's like easily in his 30s in A New Hope. He's older. You didn't get the sense he was like a teenager. Luke was a teen, and he felt like the older guy.
He's the only character we're never quite sure of
I always guessed he was like late 20s.
I kind of
to 30.
I always thought he assumed he was in maybe mid-20s. You know what I mean? Maybe young 20s. You know, but maybe I'm wrong.
He needed an age difference from Luke because he kept calling him kid.
Yeah.
So he needed to feel a little older.
I was thinking more like he's in his 40s, really, but
Harrison Ford was almost. He was like.
But yeah, like himself, he was in his
30s.
Yeah.
I think he turned 40 when he was doing
Empire Strikes Back.
No, the second Indiana Jones movie. I thought he turned 40 on that one or something. But so I think he was 30, I think, or so, around. And I always assumed that's about how old Han Solo is. So now let's backtrack this. If this is supposed to be Han at 21,
right?
So we're 9 years earlier. You get to de-age Obi-Wan about 9 years. Not a lot, but a little.
Yeah.
You age Ewan McGregor a bit in some makeup. You get him in a cameo as an old Obi-Wan.
Yeah. Which would be an interesting take. I mean, it could be an interesting one.
The other thing you can look at is the Millennium Falcon and Solo movie is in pristine shape.
Yes.
True.
And it's in a junk pile.
Right, by the time
what a heap of garbage.
You came in that?
Okay, so that's another way you can look at how old...
Yeah, how much damage, or how much... I shouldn't say damage, but how much can the Millennium Falcon take over a matter of, about 10 years or so? Right. But ships could get battered pretty quick. I mean,
which also debunks the Easter egg in the Phantom Menace or Clone Wars or whatever one it was.
Well, that's right, because the Millennium Falcon shows up there, right?
That it was just another Corellian.
I was going to say, it just makes it a YT-1300 cruiser, and it's not actually the Millennium Falcon itself, which, I mean, let's face it, there were hundreds of them, right? I mean, thousands of them.
Well, we don't really know.
Right.
I think I've told this story before. I have an old Star Wars poster that came out with the first movie that was a painted poster that you got through, like, detergent or something. It was a weird crossover tie-in, but it was a painted poster of a fight above the Death Star, and in it are at least like 6 Millennium Falcons flying around.
Yeah, really?
Yeah. Along with a bunch of Y-wings and X-wings and stuff.
That would have been cool.
And I have that poster at home.
That would have been cool.
It's really a neat bit of history.
You should take a picture of that and put that up on Facebook.
I do. I've kept them all like really packed away to keep them safe. Like they're in my closet where they don't get light or anything, until I can someday hang them up nice. But I think that one I've got in a frame to keep it flat. I'll have to pull it out and take a picture of it.
Yeah, because I'd just be interested just to see it. I mean, because that'd be cool to see.
Yeah, but I remember going through it going, wait, that's the Millennium Falcon. But there's a Millennium Falcon. But there's a Millennium Falcon. That's not right.
I do like the fact that they do explain the gap in the front of the Falcon too in this movie, in that it's a cargo freighter.
Yeah.
And we know it because if you read the books, they explain that there was not always the gap there. That's where the cargo would go. But I could never really picture that, and so I'm kind of glad we're seeing pictures of it now, where we get a chance to see what it would look like while it was carrying cargo.
Right.
I like that.
Now, another thing too, to go back to Eric's poster he's got, the Millennium Falcon was actually the Tenet 4.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
That was what they were going to have, but then they changed it up later on.
Why did they decide to do that? Do you know offhand?
I don't know.
Interesting. The design aspect of it, probably, I would think. They
I
probably
love
needed
the fact,
something a little more lighter.
Yeah, I love the fact that I think it was McQuarrie who was designing it with always, very symmetrical, and then said he just decided to take that cockpit and shove it to the side.
Yeah, because he didn't know what else to do with it.
And they loved it. They were like, "That's fantastic," It worked.
Yeah, initially, if I remember from the first couple of drawings he did, the cockpit was right there in the front on that like point, and it looked weird. Like it just didn't feel. It almost looked like the Star Trek ship without the body underneath it. It was just the saucer section, and I'm kind of glad they moved the cockpit to where they moved it. I also noticed too in the pictures we've seen that the radar dish is a lot different than what it becomes later on. I'm just actually looking forward to seeing a pristine Falcon. Like, what would that look like? I've always wondered what the initial ship looked like without any damage, without anything changed, without anything altered. What did that look like? I'm kind of looking forward to that. It also has me worried slightly that maybe the Falcon's the star of the movie, you know what I mean? Like, instead of Han Solo himself.
Well, that's the main star that I liked in Force Awakens.
This is true. You did like that was your favorite thing. What do you guys think about them building this Millennium Falcon in downtown LA? I mean, like, it pretty much took up the whole street. Yeah. It's crazy.
I mean, they had to close the street down. I mean, the cost. I
can't imagine the cost of this.
And that's why I said, why aren't they bringing me out to do a giant mural? Because if they can afford to do this and close the street, they can pay me a little bit of money to come out there and do a cool piece of Star Wars art for the movie. Come on.
Yeah, you could have been right in front of it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Total. Plenty of room.
Just do the whole movie poster right there in front of it, right on the street.
Yep.
I mean, yeah. Totally.
So who else is in this big?
Pretty much everybody from the cast.
Oh yeah, Woody Harrelson.
Woody Harrelson's there. Yep.
It looks like the girl from Westworld.
Yes,
that's who it is.
Yep.
Is she the robot?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, she's the robot in Westworld that breaks out of Westworld.
No, the robot.
I think she's the voice of the robot.
Right.
In this movie.
Oh, in the movie?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, she's the voice of the robot.
The one who's like, I'm so glad we took this job.
Yeah, she's the voice of the actual robot. Yep. And Donald Glover's in the shot. Favreau's in the shot.
Aaron Reich's in the shot, but you don't notice him too much because he's got his head turned.
Yeah, I noticed that too. Aaron Reich is in the shot, but he's turned away. And we see Khaleesi, who's the actress.
Emil Clark.
Thank you, Emil Clark. I was trying to remember.
Paul Bettany.
Paul Bettany's there.
Paul Bettany's pretty tall.
Yeah,
I think he's like 6'5" or
taller
6'6".
than I thought he would be, to be honest with you. So, I'm. Are you guys getting more excited now that we're getting a little more information?
I'm ready. I'm going to go see it. I want to see it and see what it's like. And
should we try to see it together?
I'll give it a chance.
We should try to see it together.
If we can.
I think that's something we should do. We should make a point of seeing this together. Fans, what do you think? Should we review the movie together? I think that's something.
How about we review it live? We'll just bring some recorders and we'll talk through the whole thing.
If I could rent a movie out, like a whole theater, and do that, I would totally be into that. I would dig that. Still, my favorite movie of all time ever going to see, and I got, just as a quick aside, Ian and I went to go see Iron Man at a matinee not too long, maybe a week after it came out. No one was in the theater because it was like a Wednesday matinee. I took a day off of work and I was like, let's just go. Because Ian was, he was like, I want to go do something. I'm like, let's go see a movie. So we went. There was nobody in it. I loved it. We sat there and talked through the whole thing. Laughed, you didn't have to feel guilty about anybody being around you, you know what I mean? Actually, it was funny because we were goofing around, and of course this is a time when people were still in the booths, right? And we were making jokes about the one Iron Man plot point and like some of the things that were missing, and the guys in the booth were laughing at Ian and I, which I thought was funny. You could hear them, like actually laughing, and one of the guys go, "That's funny." You can hear him from the booth.
Well, one of the best experiences I ever had was a friend of mine worked a second-run movie theater, and was allowed after the last movie closed out. We'd get there at midnight. We could string up any movie we wanted that they had,
right?
And we would all sit in the theater and we'd watch a movie. Now, granted, we didn't get out there till 3 a.m,
right?
But we'd start a movie at like 12:30, and we would watch. We'd watch movies. We did it almost every weekend for like a year. I saw a ton of movies in the second-run theater by going there and doing that. And we could, if it was a horrible movie, it turned into a live Mystery Science Theater. We shouted out jokes as much as trying to make everybody laugh, and we enjoyed those movies just as much.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. It's why I built my whole home theater room. I mean, to me, that's the whole reason I have it, is so I can be a goofball if I totally want to be when I'm watching my movies. Okay, so there's our thoughts on the Star Wars live-action TV show, our thoughts of the CGI breakdown and all that. We talked a little bit about the rumor mill, about the Obi-Wan Kenobi film, and of course the premiere of the Han Solo Star Wars film. Before we move on real quick, just something I wanted to point out. Did you guys notice that Solo is taking advantage of the Solo film?
Yes.
They actually have Han Solo red cup.
Yeah, I heard about that.
And I was just like, I almost want to buy a pack just to say, look, I've got a Solo cup.
That's what they're counting on.
That's what they're counting on.
They're counting on an immense boost of a bunch of people who don't normally buy their cups to go out and buy their cups.
Say, I've got a solo cup, which actually is kind of funny. I just thought that was hysterical. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Head over to our website, thegalaxycast.com. Head to Twitter, head to Facebook. Find us everywhere as much as you can. I'm going to start trying to open up some more social media soon. So go out there, find the GalaxyCast, and let us know what you think about these things that we've talked about. We're going to return in just a little bit with Star Wars Rebels. I believe we're going to be watching the last 2 episodes of Star Wars Rebels right after the break.
It comes to an end.
Okay, let me stop the audio. And video, we're going to pause. We'll be back in just a little bit, folks. Okay, so we just watched the emotional ending to Star Wars Rebels. Nobody was even tearing up. Did you notice that? Yeah. For all the people that were like, it was so emotional, I was kind of like, I didn't get it. I didn't understand. We're going to find out. Okay, you guys ready? Let me get out of this. Actually, let me go to, for the last time. The notes for the last 2 episodes. The last time I'll have to go to the site. Okay, here we go. So this is episodes 14 and 15. Okay. Hey, GalaxyCast fans, welcome back to this episode of the GalaxyCast as we review the last 2 episodes of Season 4 of Star Wars Rebels, and actually the last episodes of Star Wars Rebels overall. That would have been episodes 14 and 15 of Season 4, titled A Fool's Hope and Family Reunion and Farewell, which was a 60-minute episode, which I think was intended to be 2 put into 1. So overall, what did you think, Erica? Gary and I, this is our second time watching it. I was kind of curious as to what your thoughts were first time watching this through these last 2 episodes. And I'm lumping them together because, quite honestly, they're all one big old story arc. You can kind of lead one right into the other anyway, and that's pretty much how Disney put it out there anyhow. So any thoughts on this episode, these last 2, as you watch them?
Clearly... maybe not clearly, but to me, it looked like they rushed the ending because they were told they're coming to an end, so stuff they planned on maybe spreading over at least 1 more season kind of all had to happen now. I got that feeling anyway. Mm-hmm. The blocking was atrocious. That's absolutely. I mean,
it's why I'm asking you first. By the way,
the problem is that they set all these final. We'll call it 2 episodes, but it's 3 half-hour episodes. But these final 2 episodes were completely based around a series of fight scenes and increasing battles, and fighting on a platform and fighting in dogfights and flying around and then getting into the base and fighting in the base and fighting in the generator room and fighting on the bridge, and a lot of fight scenes, and in every single one of them people are standing 5 feet away from each other firing away.
Sometimes less.
It's like they gave up a long time ago on creating realistic battle sequences, and they're really just positioning people like they're chess pieces on a board inches away from each other and firing away. And that ruined a lot for me, because in terms of the story they told, at least, it had more energy than a lot of what I've seen this past season. It at least was, and it was going somewhere. See, that's the thing is, I almost feel like when they're not given a deadline, they stretch their stories out. It becomes really long, and not a lot happens each episode, and then they're told they're coming to an end, and they tell a lot of story, and I feel like this is how all the episodes should be in terms of story. Stuff should happen, right, and things should change and move around and whatever. So, in terms of at least telling a story, granted, I don't think they had these weren't genius plans.
No.
It all did hinge upon Ezra having a vision, and he kind of used the time stone in a way and figured out what the one option was that they could survive with. And then they called in the Eagles to fly down and rescue them and take care of the One Ring. It's like there was a lot of.
You just referenced every geek thing ever,
and it all ties in. Unfortunately,
it all does, yeah.
I mean, those are the kind of crutches the story braced itself on. He knew what was going to happen, or at least what one option was, so he knew the answers to do. They called upon something from 2 seasons ago that we always knew was around, but why have they never used it before? You know, Why wait till now? It just felt, as all of Rebels has felt to me, incomplete, rushed, not planned out well in terms of the physicality of it, and then all of a sudden we get these MacGuffins that kind of solve things for us, you know. The wolves always show up to rescue people and take care of the fights, and through, I don't even know how many stormtroopers they ended up throwing off that cliff face and the walking, you know, when they're there. I mean, they kept going. I was like, there weren't that many stormtroopers on there that they were throwing. It's like they kept going.
I think a couple of them, they threw them off and they climbed back up.
They did.
And they threw them off again.
Do it again. It was fun. Do me. So to me, there were elements I liked. There were things that were interesting. You know, all of it was ruined by visual planning of it. The visuals themselves were kind of, I mean, like the ending scene when the space whales show up, were visually impressive in terms of just rendering and stuff. They looked kind of big, and I liked that they added this kind of haze to it. And you know, one thing this show never has is an atmospheric effect. You don't feel like there's atmosphere, dust clouds, very little. You know, it's always very clean and clear.
Right.
And they didn't really do that in the final scene. There was like silhouettes with the sun coming from behind them, and it felt more epic. And I'm thinking, there's some artisticness to these shots that they don't do in most of their shots, and I liked that. It did seem, it felt kind of epic in a way, but at the same point, it's the same way I felt about in The Last Jedi using hyperspace to fire through Snoke's ship.
Right.
It's cool when you see it, and you kind of sit there stunned, and you're impressed by the visual, and it feels epic. Then when you think about it, you're like, why haven't they been doing that all along? Why should that work? Why didn't they do that to the Death Star and just fly through? You start having all those questions, you know. And you have the same ones with this. Why didn't they call in the space whales earlier? Why didn't they this, that? So it was good in some ways in terms of they were trying, but I think the trying was more forced by the having to wrap up. And I feel like if they were given another season, this would have dragged. It would have not. They wouldn't have solved things. They would have thrown some more dangling plot lines and some more mystery behind the paintings and the temple and this and that. And they love to have these. Well, we're going to hint at big things. But we're never going to tell you. That storytelling works in some mediums. In some mediums, hinting at something without showing everything, especially horror, is a great thing. Like in The Mist, when you hint at the fact that there's big things out there, but you don't ever see them. You don't need to know because that's the horror of it and that's the scary part. But in space opera, you're showing them. The point is you're showing. It's an operatic, big event, epic thing. And they seem to love their little dangling storylines and hints and whatevers. So I don't like that, and I always feel like it's kind of like the Lost method of storytelling. It's always, well, imagine there's all this really cool stuff going on. You just don't get it yet. And it seems like this show took that approach a lot. And still, even as it ends, it takes that approach a little. I will admit, seeing the last 3 minutes was some of my favorite part of the episode. Only because it's stuff that took place after Return of the Jedi.
Hang on, something dawned on me, so I'm going to pause the actual audio recording a second.
Okay.
So just hang on a second. I realized after we got done and to record, we missed part of the episode.
Did we?
We did.
What happened?
Disney XD, when they put this show on, screwed up. If you used your DVR, you missed the last few minutes of the show. For whatever reason, when they did it, they screwed up. And I just wanted to show you really quick.
Yeah, let me see.
The part we missed. I don't care about Videoland. They can do whatever. If YouTube takes me down, so be it. But I just wanted to show you there was a scene that I remember I said I was worried about the spoiling you, and that's the scene that we missed in the actual video. So hang on. I'm going to just fast forward to the end here. Hang on. I'm going to take down our audio.
And that they were thrivers out there somewhere.
Yes, it's weird.
And Then it's time to bring him home.
Nope, I screwed up. I screwed up. It was in the last episode, so that's my fault. So we'll just continue recording. Forget it.
It was in the last episode?
Yeah. I for some reason I thought we saw Ezra talking to the direwolves and we didn't. So whatever it was. Not direwolves, whatever they're called.
What was that shot of him walking through the field that you kept rewinding?
Yeah, that was, I forgot, that was him walking away from the wolves from the previous episode. Remember when, what's his face died? Kanan. That's what I kept screwing up.
Oh, was that what that was?
Yeah. You see how like non-memorable some of the stuff is, and it screws you up. Yeah. Okay. So anyway, let's go on.
So that's some of the minutes. The last 2 or 3 minutes to me was the most fascinating stuff because it all took place after Return of the Jedi.
Right.
And I think the shot of Ahsoka in the robe and
with the staff and Sabine walking towards her and they're going to go off on an adventure hints at a great story I'd like to see. Finally tell me a story that doesn't take place. Tell me a story in this new time period. Go ahead. Yeah. It's there. It's 30 years primed. You know, you told me the canon books don't count, or all the extended universe doesn't count, so I'll ignore that. And you've made some new books that have touched on it, but they don't tell a whole lot. That looks interesting to me, and I want that. I want to see that kind of stuff. Yeah.
So, I guess I'm just getting bored with being told more stories during these times we already kind of know.
Right.
And maybe that's why I've had trouble getting excited about Solo and those other movies, is because it's like, well, I know what happens. I know this character. Stop telling me backstory.
Right, because I know the backstory already.
Or I don't want to know backstory. Han Solo was good the way he was. You know, you got it. You understood the character. You've got this prime area, tell me new stuff. But anyway, so the episode was a whole lot of bad action. Some okay plot points that I wanted to enjoy. I don't like that they hint, I don't know if he's dead, but they hint that Thrawn got killed, you know, along with Ezra. And I'm like, but that ruins it because Thrawn was around after Return of the Jedi. He took over. He should be the one who starts up the First Order, blah, blah, blah. You know, he's primed to do that. He should be like the grandfather of the First Order.
I mean, again, right, that was part of the Zahn series, right? My assumption now is that's all out the door.
It is. That's what I'm assuming,
too. Maybe Thrawn didn't start the First Order.
Right, you know what I mean? But I still think that, I don't like that ending. I don't think the ending of this series should be Thrawn getting killed, because it doesn't seem to fit with the mentality. I know, it's not the Thrawn from the books. I know, they're telling me it's not the Thrawn.
That's all I was pointing out, yeah.
But, so anyway,
what I see this thing opens right up to is the start of Snoke, and because supposedly he's the great evil that's outside of the known space,
right?
And outer realms and all that, or outer rim, or whatever you want to call it, and the Emperor already felt that presence. It was actually scared of the presence, and that's why he was designing the Death Stars and stuff to go against that.
I was kind of like,
and Snoke ended up being someone who just got lanced through a lightsaber, cut in half, and is gone.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It's what.
It all comes down to that whole thing where these people are not talking to each other. They're not making a grand plan.
As we were talking about the Favreau thing at the beginning, I was sitting here thinking, actually, Favreau's live-action series could play into this, because let's say Thrawn survives, so you hyperspaced him out into middle of nowhere, right?
In a ship that has no windows.
Right, and a ship that has no windows, but come on, Princess Leia, Mary Poppined it, right? Okay.
Which I didn't like.
I know, and I'm just putting this out there. I'm not saying it's gonna happen.
And she had force abilities. Thrawn doesn't have any force abilities.
I get what you're saying, but I'm like,
what you forget to see is the ray shields and the
right, there you go, they're up, yeah.
Just because they didn't mention the ray shields don't mean that they aren't there.
Yeah.
I'm just proposing this idea.
Mm-hmm.
What if Thrawn's alive out in space? He's the one that starts to build the First Order, finds Snoke. Snoke's is the symbiote character, and they could potentially kind of use that story arc a little. I'm not saying that all of it has to come back, but what if Snoke is the symbiote, whatever you call the character's name, role? Do you get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And kind of the Mad Titan, Mad Jedi role, which you could kind of see that out of Snoke. He's not a full-on Sith. He's not, you know what I mean? Symbiote, they always kind of got the impression he didn't have all that power, you know what I mean? And he only could use it every once in a while. I almost got that out of Snoke at times, so I wonder if that's their replacement, you know?
Well, that's what I liked about the Plagueis book was they determined that it was impossible for a force wielder to be cloned and have the full abilities
right.
of the force. And that's one thing I did like about that.
Right.
And in the Thrawn book, Thrawn actually sent one of his underlings to his own people to help look for this new evil or whatever it is that's out there.
Okay. So I mean, it could line up. I mean,
exactly. It could, but I'm not holding my hand on my ass.
And it goes back to what Eric.
I hope you're not. That'd be a really odd position.
Yeah, don't smell that. At the same time too. But I also in Eric's boat where it's like if he's in a ship with the windows down, you know what I mean? Like, but, okay, please don't Mary Poppins.
This is me writing like I always do, fixing a story. So here's your new story. Cut to, ship comes flying in from hyperspace, comes to a stop. It's damaged, floating at an angle, pieces floating everywhere. Clearly, though, ray shields covering the windows. A dead one of the space whales floating next to it, half its tentacles cut off. Cut to inside the cabin, tentacles lying on the ground. They've been sliced. An unconscious Thrawn slammed against the wall. Everything's devastated. An unconscious Ezra awakes, escapes from the thing, doesn't realize that Thrawn's not dead, doesn't see him, whatever, has to try to save himself, takes an escape pod, whatever. Thrawn awakes in a derelict, damaged, but floating ship. You can save him, and it would totally logically make sense, and you could do a visual, and it would work.
Sure.
There's the start of your new series. The character's out in space, and it's after Return. They're not going to be found for decades. So or 10 years, whatever. So what happens to
and
them?
Your story could be about not just about Thrawn himself building the First Order, but about Ezra being found, a resurgence of the rebellion.
Yeah, what becomes of him?
Right, so maybe Ahsoka helps lead the rebellion back into existence, and maybe, how many?
Because now, what is the next animated series is called Resistance. And it does take place, but the problem is it doesn't take place right after Return of the Jedi.
That's what I'm saying. The live action series.
We got two series coming out. One which takes place 7 years after Return of the Jedi. That's a live action. One that's animated that takes place, I think they said, 4 years before Force Awakens. So that's
somewhere between the two. You know what I mean? Like, you get what I'm saying, right? Like, but the live action to me would make more sense.
None of them are talking to each other.
No,
I do not have the faith that any of these people are talking to each other right now. After hearing how with the big tentpole movies
aren't talking to each other.
Are not talking to each other. That blows my mind.
Yeah.
Did you guys not catch that Ahsoka and Sabine are going looking for Ezra?
Well, that's what he was saying. That's what I was saying. What if that's the beginning of the new rebellion, right?
No, that's what they said in that.
But will we ever hear that story?
Probably not.
No. Maybe they'll cover it in a comic book somewhere and be like, well, go read the comic book if you want to find out what happened.
Yeah. I get what you're saying. It's I guess it's the thing, like after 4 years, right, of watching this show, we're all kind of like, I walked away going, that's it? That was kind of my reaction when I first watched it, was like, I can't believe they couldn't come up with something more than that. Like, and even the last 2 minutes, I was disappointed. And I know, hey, already we need to wrap up. We get Return of the Jedi.
Well, all of a sudden we've got, I assume that's Kanan's baby?
Yeah.
Yes.
When did they ever have time to do it?
Well, remember, she's told him she was pregnant.
When?
She Didn't she tell him just before he died?
No.
No, I don't remember this line.
I know they said, I love you.
Yeah, that's it.
Was that it?
She didn't go, I love you, I'm having your baby. That didn't happen.
She said she was pregnant, but maybe I'm wrong.
I don't remember that.
I don't remember that at all.
If we're not remembering it, then we're blocking major parts of the show out. But I would have thought I would have.
Well, then maybe it's not his baby.
But then she said, we all know what his father was like. Well, who's his father then? If that's what you're gonna drop that line,
Rex.
Well, I was gonna say, was it Rex? Because that's the first impression I got.
I was gonna say Five is the one that went crazy, right? Isn't that the crazy one?
Five's died.
Five's died. That's right. Who's the one who's like semi-crazy there? You know what I'm talking about?
Gregor
just died too.
He died too.
What I'm saying is,
I think they're implying.
Maybe it's Gregor.
I think they're implying that the two of them had a night together or something, and here comes a kid. But it's like,
you never even told us.
Wow, you're going to drop us that in like the half second of the last series, and that's what you're going to give us?
Well, I just made the epiphany that I had said tonight. If it is Kanan's kid, he might have some force ability.
Yeah, I mean, that's a new Jedi.
That's a big deal.
The problem I got with that being her kid and everything, and I guess you're going to call me racist on this or whatever, but
didn't look anything like
either one of them.
Right.
Well, no, it was totally human looking.
Yeah.
Which means it could have been Kanan, but it had nothing to do with her species.
And only thing he got was green hair.
Oh, did he? Yeah, he had
green hair.
Yeah.
You know, that was it.
Yeah, I agree.
Maybe they don't develop their head tentacles until they're teens. It's like puberty.
I don't know.
No, it just don't make any sense. No, because
part of me wanted to either give him the tentacles or like make his skin.
His skin
partially green.
He should have been human with green skin.
Right.
You got the double look.
You would have had the double look, right? It just didn't feel like like it had that.
But here's the thing: if we're ever going to cast that character and do it in a TV show or something, it's got to be someone we can cast without a ton of makeup and.
Right, so now you just put some green hair in, and you're good. So, there's so many things in this episode, these past two, that I was just kind of like, what do you do with half this stuff? Like, the wolves. What did you guys think about the wolves in these last two episodes?
They and the space whales were both the eagles from Lord of the Rings.
Right?
Like, they just showed up when they were needed. It wasn't...
Yeah, the sonic screwdriver.
And part of me is sitting here saying, were they blaster proof or something? Did I miss something there? Right? Like, why did none of the stormtroopers even blast them? I mean, even if... Okay, so I get that they can't aim to save their soul, but if there's 40 stormtroopers and they all aim at a wolf...
They're going to hit it.
One of them's bound to hit it.
Didn't one of them, like, get hurt for a second, shake its head, and then come back?
Yeah. Well, like, it got hit in the head and it went and kind of shook it off.
So I think, are they
blaster proof? I mean, if they're that dang good, then let's freaking repopulate these things and get them everywhere, right?
Ride the wolves into battle, because they're going to be your best bet.
Right. Like, I mean, they're better than banthas, for crying out loud. I mean, see, and then there were moments I had told you guys.
I've never liked the wolves because they never felt like they fit into me. They felt like
they're the sonic screwdriver.
They wanted to get mystical. Universe. Great. They wanted to get mystical. Let's start bringing this up this season. Oh, this is our last season?
Yeah.
Well, we're still going to go with it. We'll put it out there.
I really still think the best way they could have taken Rook out, I still think, was when the wolf was attacking the ship. If he somehow figured out a way, I told Gary about this tonight, into the ship, and so like almost like Aliens,
right?
You know, Rook like turns around, there's a wolf, and it goes and like grabs him and splits him in half.
I didn't mind Rook getting fried. I mean, it was okay.
It was okay, but I don't know.
I mean, it did give a good. But here's the thing: when did Zeb grab his comm so he could talk to Thrawn?
Well, we don't see that part at all. Like that whole scene too on the platform.
And why
the blocking and spacing was awful.
Why would he be like, "Hey, I'm going to hold on to his comm in case someone calls him"? Because I got this great line I can use.
Yeah, is Thrawn going to call you? Is he
Well, the other thing that got me was Gregor's a veteran of the Clone Wars,
right?
And they shot a couple of gunners or whatever they want to call them, and nothing. They're not keeping an eye on them to make sure that they're dead or whatever.
Right.
Let them pick up a gun and shoot them. That's what I know they had to have someone die in that scene.
I know. The one out of all of this show that let's have some deaths. Gregor's. That's what we're gonna do for the big ending.
Well, Ezra and Thrawn, they want you to assume are dead. You know
they're going to look for Ezra.
Right.
He's not.
Yeah, you get what I'm saying, right? That's the assumption they want you to make.
I didn't get that assumption at all. It was just that the whales came in, put a big ray shield over the ship, and then they used them as the hyperdrive.
See, part of me wanted to say, yes, Ezra and Thrawn died. And the whole reason Ahsoka had to show up is she's going to take Sabine through that time warp hole again and go back and get Ezra that way.
I hate that. The whole time warp episode also bugged me.
I'm just saying that we've now seen it, right? So it's out there, so we could Doc Brown this thing, go back to the future and go get Ezra, right? I mean, like, seriously, like, we have that option
Ezra,
now.
we gotta do something about your kids, Ezra.
Go back to the future.
Scott.
And now it's legitimizing the distance force powers that they used in The Last Jedi with Palpatine now.
Right. Exactly.
This has gone from being a cool story about space knights who have some cool abilities, being the heroes fighting against these evil villains, to mystical crap flying left and right.
Time and space are optional.
And it's like,
what? Good and bad are optional. That's the other part that has always bothered me lately about Star Wars, because suddenly good and bad are they're optional. They're grade.
I mean, does George Lucas ever? Is he? I mean, I know he's a busy guy. I'm sure he has plenty to do besides follow how these shows are doing.
Yeah.
But do you think he ever gets someone comes to him and says, "Let me just update you. You know, take a half hour here of everything that's going on." At the end, he's just shaking his head, going, "What are they doing?"
I think at this point, if he were smart, or at least if I were him, I would completely disconnect from anything. Like, I wouldn't even watch the shows. I would, for the sole purpose, it is your product that you created. You would get frustrated if you knew everything that's going on.
I couldn't.
So you'd almost have to walk away.
I don't care if they paid me $4 billion. I'd be mad if something I put my heart and soul into was.
And that's what I'm saying. He almost has to disconnect on this because.
But here he is,
looking at half
walking the Solo premiere.
Well, that doesn't mean he's watching the movie.
But we talked about it could mean he's coming.
Well, we have talked about the possibility that George Lucas. I mean, there's been hints that there's certain individuals, and I don't want to name names, but certain people are not popular within the Disney realm and who's handling the Star Wars stuff, and one of the reasons George isn't around is because of a certain individual. And if that person were to leave, George might come back and at least co-produce some of these movies. And George is almost needed right now. I hate to say that. This is his property, but I guess part of me also says, if it is so far gone, I don't know if George would want to touch it at this point. You know what I mean? They've taken it so far out the realm.
I think he would just try to get things straightened out.
Yeah? You think he would want to straighten them out?
I think he would desperately want to try to straighten them out.
I don't know. Part of me says we're so far beyond the pale of what George did that he might just look at that and go, "That I can't do that. That's just crazy."
Well, the rumor has it that JJ is going to be retconning a lot of what happened in The Last Jedi.
Oh, really? In the next movie?
Yes.
Well, and so this is...
it'd be a great way to do it. Is, you think all that happened, and then all of a sudden you're waking up on a table, and there's Kylo still trying to get into Rey's head, and the whole thing messed with her, and she's just, it's like...
I was just about to say, what if they used the whole time...
Think about it. He was doing that to her head and said,
right.
"I see an island."
Right, yeah.
The line's there.
Right.
The whole thing.
Well, part of me was sitting here saying, like, we set up in Rebels that you can travel through time and space. What's to say they don't Doc Brown that part and go, but we're going to go back through a wormhole and undo the whole thing.
Well, no, I say leave time travel out of it, because time travel...
But I'm just saying, like, you've opened up that door.
You know what? Yes.
You opened the target.
Here's the thing.
Sorry.
A smart person will avoid the temptation and not take that easy way out.
We're talking about J.J. Abrams.
Here's the thing. I like J.J. I like a lot of what he's done. I think he misstepped on Force Awakens because I think the pressure was so intense that he was like, I gotta play it safe enough that everyone's happy. And I think he tried to please everyone. Right. And by doing so, he remade A New Hope.
Right.
With new characters. And I still think, like I said, I think Kylo Ren, his look, the first introduction of him being the son of Leia and Han,
right.
There were great story elements in that first movie. But I didn't like it because there was no originality. Apart from those, you set up all these original things and then you threw them into A New Hope.
Right.
So that was my big problem with Force Awakens. But it at least felt Star Wars-y, just too much.
Right.
My problem with Last Jedi was it ignored everything he set up that could have been, taken to be cool, and said, I'm going to go really weird and far out and turn Luke into something that even Mark Hamill has said, that's not how I thought Luke would turn out.
Right.
It's like it tried to be something drastically different and went way too far the other way, and just to me had some stupid ideas and stuff like that with great visuals, don't get me wrong, but I really hope JJ's coming back and I'm going, okay, I've seen both sides of it. We get it right with 9.
Right.
And so I have hope.
So, can I point something out here? We're supposed to be talking about the end of Star Wars Rebels.
And we're talking about everything else.
We care so little about the end of Star Wars Rebels. We're talking about everything but.
Yeah, well, like you're saying, you're reading everybody so emotional about the ending of this thing.
Yeah, like I read all this stuff online and I was like, well, I better go watch this because I was afraid it was going to get spoiled, right? And I decided, well, I better go see this because it sounds like it's emotional. And then I watched it and I literally, like, my first reaction was, did I miss something? Like, I had to go watch it again, and I still didn't. And now this was the third time watching with you guys, and I still have zero emotional reaction to any of this. And I know a lot of people are going to put me over the bed and hit me for that, but I'm like, part of me...
This is getting
it got
really weird fast. I think you meant rake you over the coals.
I'm going to get raked over the coals, whatever it is. I don't get it.
Tying me up and spanking me over this one.
I got a story about that later. So
ain't gonna be me.
but I don't get it. I don't get this emotional reaction everybody has. Like, oh, it was so I can't get over it.
I guess some people go with it for 4 years, and some people get more involved in this. And I've had people tell me this. This is a problem with being critical of things.
Right.
You can't shut it off. Right. Every movie I go see, I have to kind of start. Half of the fun of it to me is to talk with my friends.
That's my wife. Like, she gets mad now. Like, if I watch a movie and we come back home and I'm like, I liked it, but, you know, and I give this little critical thing, and my wife's like, just shut up. I hate it when you do
She will say, can't you just enjoy it? And I understand. I get it. I get the idea. It's like, you can.
Right.
And so I try not to do it too much with certain people. Other people I know like to do it. I'm like, okay, we'll get into it and talk about it. There are very few movies anymore that whisk me away with the magic of movies.
Yes.
Like I used to when I was a kid. So it's going to be very hard for me to have this connection that other people get. And I'm happy they got the connection. I'm glad they could.
Right.
But I expect more out of, every time there's people standing 2 feet from each other and there's 7 here and 9 here and they're all firing blasts at each other and no one's being hit.
Right.
And no one's hiding behind a box and there's nothing, just nothing.
Right.
Stormtroopers aren't hiding behind something. They're standing in the open, just firing away, waiting to get shot. When you're doing all these stupid visuals, I can't... I'm sorry, my critical brain cannot block that off.
I guess that's my point about this show. With all the noise on TV that's out there, and I'm talking about all the shows, all the options, the things that you have to watch, right? And there's some great cartoons out there. I'm going to be honest, there are some great cartoons out there.
Yes.
And I'm talking about everything from comedy like Archer, to like serious cartoons. Even Disney XD has put out some really great
people have loved
cartoons.
What was it, Avatar, The Last Airbender, and then it was The Legend of Korra.
Right.
Are two that people rave about to this day. Even said they were done well. Even the action was done well.
Even Marvel's Avengers, which would start off as Earth's Mightiest Heroes and has gone into Marvel's Avengers. I've been watching it from the beginning. It is an amazing cartoon. I'm sorry. Disney does a spectacular job taking my comic books and putting them to life on a screen. And I'm like, how can that happen on the same channel that we put out Rebels? And the blocking in Avengers is amazing. And then you look at Rebels and you're like, what? How could you be in the same channel and have such two different realms of writing and I don't get it. I guess I just don't get it. I like I said, I wanted to love these characters. I wanted to love this show, but the whole time there was nothing that grabbed me and made me yank me into that.
Let's face it, we gave some episodes 8s, 9s.
We did. There were some that I liked.
There were some standout ones, but overall, the series has.
Let me ask both of you this question. If we were to compare the two,
what?
Which was better, Rebels or Clone Wars?
Clone Wars. By
same for me.
Now, granted, we have to admit, Clone Wars had the benefit of being about Anakin and Obi-Wan.
Yep.
It had a major story push to it.
Correct.
But overall, it was just made better. It was
just better written to me. Yes. It was more, somebody thought through the writing.
It had its clunker periods, too.
It did. The droids episode, I cannot bring that up enough. But even with its clunkers, overall, bigger story arc, look, it was so much better. So much better written, so much better overall.
And how about, here's something. In Clone Wars, Anakin was a Jedi, Obi-Wan was a Jedi, they always acted like Jedi.
Right.
In Rebels, wow, was Ezra powerful and Jediing all over the place in these last 2 episodes. But there are others where he pulls out a gun and doesn't even use anything, doesn't force push him. Be consistent. What is he? You started off, I remember you started off, if it was the beginning of this season or the season before, with him flipping sideways through a hallway and taking out a bunch of stormtroopers, and I thought, it was during the age jump, when the first episode we saw after he'd age jumped. Right. I'm like, dang, that's awesome. They're going to go in a good direction with this. And then he barely used
2 episodes, he barely used any.
And at times he wouldn't touch it at all. So I'm like, is he or is he not a Jedi? Stick with it.
Yeah.
What about the whole him having connection to the animals in the early seasons, and he brought up that big evil creature, and he kind of was hinting at going to the dark side? Yeah. Dropped. What about the holocron where he touched the
Sith holocron? Dropped. Yeah.
It's like there's too many things where they set up interesting storylines that they could have made. It always got dropped to just kind of go back to status quo.
What did you guys think of the role of Palpatine within these final 2 episodes? That was the only other thing we hadn't talked about. I was kind of curious what you guys thought. Thoughts on that?
Well, I like the fact that Ian McDiarmid did the voice.
I'm happy he did it too.
Other than that, I don't want to say they weakened them, but that's what it seemed like to me, that they made the Emperor look more of a bully more than anything else.
Right.
A weak bully.
I was just about to say, he didn't strike it as being powerful enough. Like, he's the Emperor, right? Like, I almost wanted him to kind of mind screw him even more than he did, and I can't believe I'm saying that, but like, play with his head, and Palpatine didn't do enough of that.
Right.
He tried to manipulate the family ideal, sure, but like really manipulate that, you know what I mean? Like, and Palpatine, not enough to me, really pushed that over the edge. That could have been a big deal, and he decided not to do that. And I was slightly confused. Is that a Jedi temple? Is that a Sith temple?
That was a Jedi temple from Lothal.
Was that the Lothal temple?
Yeah, they brought it up.
Okay.
They stole it from the planet.
Right.
And that's the one that Ahsoka was supposed to be guarding or whatever, right?
I don't know.
See, that's where I'm confused again.
I find it interesting that they can move the portal, too. They can take the whole portal stone by stone and put it up on their ship.
Right.
Yeah, well, that's the thing.
How's that happen,
It's not tied to the temple on the ground, and by disassembling it, you don't disassemble the portal, or...
That's...
And here's the thing.
Something that's unique to that, just that one temple, I guess.
Right.
I don't know.
So, what were your thoughts, Eric, about Palpatine? I mean...
He was fine. I'm, again, glad that he was played by Ian McDiarmid. The voice is always good to have. He was... I mean, interesting idea. I have to tempt Ezra to get into this thing, because apparently Ezra can and I can't. I don't know the trick. Whereas you've kidnapped Ezra, why not just tie him to a table and electrocute him nonstop until he finally tells you? Because that's a typical Empire type move. Or if you're going to show him something, don't show him the happy. How about you show him the moment his parents were about to be killed?
Right.
Say, you can save them. Save them.
Right.
Save them, Ezra. Save them.
Saying, like, the bigger mind screw you there.
Put some effort. So he's just like,
do it.
You know,
do it.
You either watch it or save them.
Yeah.
And he never did anything like that. It was just, go be happy.
Yeah.
You can be happy with your parents again. Oh, you didn't do it. Drat.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
kind of the reaction.
It's just like it didn't do it for me. So I did think it was a neat idea that he didn't appear like himself. I like that they used the old him in the hologram, because if he looked evil, then Ezra would. That was a little bit of a mind trick to Ezra to try and make him feel a little more like he's dealing with someone on a race basis. But other than that, it was kind of wasted. It's like you got him back. You're not gonna do anything really cool with him, except to have him stick his hand through time portals and fire lightning fire. I don't know.
All right, how about the resolution of Kallus? What did you guys think about the fact that Kallus got a chance to go to Zeb's homeworld?
Well,
and
that whole thing. Kallus is one of my favorite characters of the entire series. Why? Because he actually changed and had an arc.
Right.
He started off one way. You really didn't want to like him at all. Then you got these hints like, do I want to like him?
Yeah.
Why is there something about this guy? Even though he's being bad, I kind of like him. And then boom, the turn came, and then he's helping the rebels, and then he's cool, and he was good, and I liked it, and he never went back to being a traitor. He had an arc. Through this 4 seasons, he changed, he did stuff, he went from one place to another.
He might be the most well-rounded character of the whole series.
In my opinion, he's one of my favorites. And, the whole ending with him going to Zeb's homeworld, a little trite. It was just like, let's show him that he wasn't so evil, and we'll take him. I'm glad they tied back into that, at least re-mentioned that Zeb had saved his race and found a planet. I'm glad they at least re-mentioned that. The whole thing with Kallus seemed a little forced, of course, but it was fine.
What did you think of the ending of Kallus there, Gary?
Yeah, I was alright with it.
Yeah.
Well, like Eric, he's one of my favorite characters in the whole thing. And that's what I find funny, too, is the ones I actually felt for were the bad guys.
Yeah, like I actually
Callis and Price. I felt for it.
I was just about to say Governor Price actually kind of felt for a little bit.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like she's been duped in this whole scenario too. You know what I mean?
I mean, it was tough
to follow Thrawn and do everything.
If I was
Thrawn
writing
asked.
it, I would have wanted to give her the redemption of going with the rebels at the end.
Yeah, I almost
when
wanted to
Zeb
say that,
made
too.
that offer, and the fact that she didn't
Yeah.
and was willing to die upset me.
Yeah.
And the fact that upset me meant that I was emotionally invested in that character
Right.
to an extent. I
Right.
was like, oh, she didn't take it. She really is bad. Damn, you know? And that...
This is the first show I've watched where I think I was more vested in the bad guys than the good guys.
Well, even Thrawn, I mean, granted, he's got the whole legacy weight behind him of being such a legend character.
Well, I'll go even further. I'm going back
He
to
was
like
good.
the Inquisitors, right? Like the Inquisitors.
There's
I mean,
another
like,
drop. Whatever happened to them in the
I was
Sisters and
emotionally
Brothers?
invested in all the Inquisitors, and I kind of felt like we dropped the ball on those, and I liked those characters.
First of all, the first Inquisitor let himself die.
Right.
Clearly, at the end of the first season, he let himself die when he could have easily escaped because he's an Inquisitor, he had more power. Did we ever explain why? No. He just pops up in a temple later on, and that's not explained as to why. Why was he in the temple? Who knows?
We don't know.
You know, Thrawn has one of the helmets, though, on his desk, so that's great. I'm glad that told me something, but, you know, nothing. So, the Inquisitor I liked. I wanted to see more about.
Then we had the brother and the sister.
The brother and the sister, they were interesting characters, and I liked their designs and their visuals, and some of the fight scenes with them were really good, and getting them involved at the Sith Temple. And granted, the one guy helicoptered around with his lightsaber, that, you know, the thing he had, that's a little weird, but...
Yeah, it seemed a little Power Rangers-ish, but, you know,
But for the most part, and then those characters weren't all killed. Weren't we talking about how, like, two of them at least escaped?
Two of them escaped. We have no idea what happened.
No idea. They never came back.
No, just the one that the helicopter around escaped.
But he escaped, so fine. What's going on there?
Like, what happened? Like,
Right.
Actually, in general, what happened to the Inquisitors overall? The whole point was they were going to hunt the Jedi down, but here's two Jedi on Lothal. You know they're there.
Yeah.
They just dropped back.
We bring Maul back in for a while. We make him cool to the point where he's tempting Ezra, and there's like a big plan there. And then he has I'm going to go do something. And what does he do? They finally go and tell a story where he goes and confronts Obi-Wan. How? He just shows up standing next to him by a fire. They swing a couple blades, and he's dead. And in the end, he has this enigmatic line: "Will he avenge us?" Yes, he will. Are we going to explain any of that? No. Dropped like everything else. Like, here's your hot potato. Take that out of your hands, toss it on the floor, kick it around a little bit. We don't care. We're throwing it away. Oh, wow, Maul fighting Vader. I'll bet everyone would really like to see that. That'd be a great thing. Maybe Vader takes out the person who, was the first one before him, and that'd be good. No, we're not going to tell that story. The audience wants to see it. We're not going to tell that. We're going to tell a different story. And that seems to me the decisions they always make. There are stories the audience would want to see, so we're not going to tell those. We'll tell other ones.
Okay, so let's wrap this up. Let's rate these last two episodes. Let's rate them together, I guess, because really they're kind of one story.
I'm sure this is all helping our chances of ever being employed by Lucasfilm.
Zeros that don't bother, 10s being a must-see. As a matter of fact, I think LFL actually might appreciate the fact that we are kind of critical about this stuff because we're thinking about it. Most people would watch this stuff and just drone through it and not think about it.
I don't hate Star Wars. I want to love it.
I want to like everything you're putting out.
But I'll be critical when I feel it.
Yep. So, zeros that don't bother, 10s a must-see. Anybody want to rate these last two episodes?
Just the last two episodes?
Just for the last two episodes. What do you guys...
Together, right?
Yep. You want to go, Gary?
I'll go first. I give it a 6.
Okay.
I liked certain parts of it. I felt for Price.
He's got a crush on her.
I do. You read around, you can understand it.
Okay.
She was a very good character throughout the whole thing.
Yeah.
So and Callis was another good character throughout it. The rest of the Rebel crew, I didn't really care about any of them.
Yeah. I was going to give it a 5. I was actually disappointed in this ending. I really was, to multiple levels. I didn't like the way the wolves were used as the crutch. I thought it was an awful decision.
I don't think the wolves were ever needed.
I don't either. I actually didn't like the whole fight scene on the platform and thought it was very awfully choreographed. I didn't like the way Rook was handled throughout almost the entire
The only
episode.
cool parts of that fight on the platform was a couple of shots of Sabine, the way she flew around, the camera swooped with her.
Yeah.
There were a couple of cool shots in there.
Yeah, but it's like somebody figured out how to do some cinematics, in very simplistic terms. Even the ships, the way the gunships were coming in and out, it was like, it was just bad timing, bad graphics, bad, all of it. It would just seem really awful.
I never liked the design of them anyway.
I never liked the design of those gunships either. That's not the way they were described in anything, any book we've ever read. But they're not canon anymore. So. You're right. That's not the canon. True. I didn't like the story arc either. I know they were trying to go for the Ezra as the hero, saving the day kind of hero sacrifice thing. I could have cared less that he sacrificed himself. I know everybody else is like, oh, I'm like, okay, good, great, take the ship, go, get rid of Thrawn. I was almost cheering it on, and towards the end, because I was like, good, another character gone, good idea. It was just like, I can't believe I'm saying that. I wanted to have a hero's. But at the same time, again, I'm not invested in the character. And nothing about Ezra made me want to be like, yeah, he's such I don't know. There was nothing in that got me going for that. Ironically, I was actually more interested in what happened to Hondo Ohnaka than I was in the entire crew. And we don't know what happened to Hondo, do we?
He was fine, wasn't he?
I thought he got in his ship and left.
Right, you got in his ship and left, and so that's the other questions out there, right? What happens to Hondo Ohnaka from this point forward? Great character from Clone Wars all the way through Rebels, who could potentially go on. And that's the other thing too. I was kind of shocked, quite honestly, a little bit, that Hera was involved in Return of the Jedi. Okay, wow. I could have bought all that if we'd seen the ghost in the movie already somewhere along the way. And now you can't come out with a super ultra cool special edition and put the ghost in it, Return of the Jedi. Sorry,
they can.
LFL.
That's how they're going to sell it.
But you get what I'm saying, right? Like we already saw Rex in Return of the Jedi. Okay, great, that tied in. I'm fine with that. But to say, well, Hera was involved too, wrong.
Well, was she in the space battle or was she on Endor?
Either way, you're not in the film. You know what I mean?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. If there's a Twi'lek and Endor fighting with
and I can buy that, then I'm fine.
And I don't care what color she was at that point.
Right. But I'm just saying, we didn't even get that point. So to me, leave her out of that. You didn't need to put that in there. You just leave her out. She helped the rebellion. That's all you needed to say. You didn't need to say she was there during the battle. Then I don't know. Part of that was just bull. I call bull on that, big time. So that's why I only give it a 5, because there's just so much in this episode. There was just kind of you want to call bull on, and you just want to be like, this is crazy, and I can't believe we're ending in the way we are. The redeeming part of this whole thing, Ahsoka's alive. That, to me, that was the only redemption, the real redemption at the end. Not that Ezra could potentially still be alive. That Ahsoka is alive. That was the only redeeming quality to me.
And Sabine's armor looked awesome at the end.
I'll agree with you. I liked the Mando armor at the end, but to me, it wasn't a selling point per se. What'd you think, Eric?
Well, Gary took my number. I was going to give it a 6.
Well, I'm the low one this time around.
So, it's amazing that such an epic ending can have such bad fight sequences, which constantly pull you out of any involvement in the story. Mm-hmm. Everything we've said up to this point holds true. Interesting villains, not so interesting heroes. Very big MacGuffins that come swooping in at the end to save everything. You can also tell how this feels rushed by the fact that how much happened in the last, 4 or 5 episodes of the entire series.
Sure.
We lost 2 major characters in a span of 4. Both Jedis had to sacrifice themselves for different reasons within a span of 5 episodes. Right. So you're jamming a lot of story in because that's very unbalanced to the overall series. Someone getting lost halfway through the series and then another at the end, I'd buy it more. It just seems like, no. Space whales shooting Thrawn while holding him in his tentacles across the galaxy and hurtling him with now super powerful Jedi Ezra, who has not been that powerful up to this point. Yeah, it just was all over the place.
He drank his midi-chlorian Kool-Aid.
He did. He's like,
I was going to say he ate his spinach, but okay, yeah, that works too.
So, the reason I give it, the reasons you should watch it, it ends the series. If you're a completionist, you got to complete it. You got to see what happens. Were there some okay story ideas? Sure, there were a few. There were some interesting visuals. Again, there was some nice cinematic work at the end during the final fight sequence, even though it was the giant space whales sweeping in, which Ezra apparently knows how to call.
Yeah, right.
From across the galaxy.
Yeah.
where do you learn this? Again, let's just throw that out there. No need to explain it. He's never done it before, but he'll do it now. And they'll show up right on time.
It was in the book of Mind Meld.
That's what it is. That's what it is. So, boo on your dropped storylines, boo on your leaving characters behind that we found interesting, boo hiss on just, making no one interesting and changing over time, except for people like Callus. Let's give Callus his own show. I think he deserves it. And, I was disappointed. It's you want to like these shows, and you want to find them interesting, and you want to be sad that they're ending them early. And honestly, right now, I sit here, God is my witness. Well, I'm glad I don't have to review any more of these. Because I wasn't getting a whole lot of enjoyment.
I'm partially relieved we don't have to watch these anymore.
Let's go watch some fan films.
Right?
That really into it. And I'm excited for the Jon Favreau series. I'm excited for... I'll take a look at Resistance and see what it's like. But otherwise, you lost me on this one, Lucasfilm. You've got more, strikes on the bad column than the good in the past 3 years for me.
And especially in cartoons really for whatever reason.
Yeah, the cartoon series, it's all Rebels. Force Awakens, major disappointment for the reasons we mentioned, but then Last Jedi for me, was just not a good movie. So it's like you got me. Rogue One, you had me back in for a while. It's like I liked Rogue One, enjoyed it, and
so what you're saying is Solo is your only hope.
I'm hoping Solo is a good movie. I'm hoping Solo is extremely entertaining.
I'm hoping Solo is a good movie, and I hope the TV show will be
a redemption.
Now, how far off did they say the TV show was?
7 years after.
No, from us being able
production?
to see it. Yeah.
They're in script right now. I believe they're supposed to be filming over the summer, late summer, in early fall, I believe.
So we should get this in 2019.
I'm thinking it's supposed to be released in early 2019. I believe that's the production speed that we've been hearing anyway.
I'm willing to wait, because after Solo, we don't have any Star Wars for a while.
Right.
We won't have Episode 9 until Christmas of 2019. We won't have...
Resistance.
Resistance
that's actually supposed to come out in the fall.
So we'll have Resistance.
So we are supposed to have that coming out in the fall.
So we'll have one thing.
And I have no hope for that.
I am worried, because...
I'm worried it's going to be too kiddish. At least based on the picture we saw, that's my only concern.
I need to see some stuff of it,
I
see
agree
how
with
it's going to work.
D23. No, it will be before D23.
Yeah, if it's coming out already. That's something we might get a clip of at San Diego Comic-Con.
That's true.
Because Lucasfilm didn't say they're not coming.
No, just much Marvel. Right.
So for me, my hope and excitement right now rests in the Marvel Universe. They've got me right now, and Star Wars doesn't.
I got to agree with you there. So, go ahead, Gary.
Well, I was going to say, just touch on a little bit. Have you seen the new trailer for the Predator movie?
I just saw that today.
No, I haven't. I'll have to watch it later.
We'll watch it after. Yeah, we'll watch it after. I want to hear your opinions.
Okay, so those were our thoughts on the Han Solo movie, on the Jon Favreau TV show, on CGI when it comes to Jon Favreau. What else do we talk about at the beginning? My mind's
Obi-Wan movie possibility, rumors, things like that,
and our thoughts on the end of Star Wars Rebels. We'd love to hear what you think of what we just said. Bring it on! So we're waiting for you. So head on over to GalaxyCast at GalaxyCast.com, or email us at GalaxyCast@gmail.com, or hit us up on Twitter, Facebook, all those things you can find us on. And again, we're going to be working on updates. We're going to be trying to get some more social media out there for all of you.
Yeah, we have to.
And I promise episodes are going to be edited soon, so we're going to be updating very soon on all that.
And I do want to just say as a final word, you see that meme all the time, let people enjoy things. If you enjoyed Rebels, again, more power to you.
Actually, tell us, because I want to know.
I want to hear.
What about Rebels?
I need those
uplifting things.
I'm not going to say you're wrong.
Right.
I'm going to say I didn't, and here's the reasons why. And that's all I'm saying. So I'm trying not to add to the internet hate, which is so big right now, where people are making the point of going, well, your ideas are stupid. No, I don't think you're stupid for if you liked it.
No, actually, I want to know why you liked it, because actually I wanted to like it. You know what I mean?
Did we miss something?
Did we miss something? Yeah. So, let us know what your thoughts, and as we always like to say here in the Star Production Studios, may the Force be with those who listen.
No longer to Rebels.
I figured somebody was going to throw something in there. Okay, Video Land, that's it. We're going to stop real quick here, so have a good one. See ya.
Bye.